Design thinking is a process that involves understanding people, collaborating with a team, and unleashing collective creativity to provide a solution. A solution that is valuable, useful, and desirable, among other things. But this does not only apply to the field of UX design. This is Multiverse of Design. In this episode, we'll bring together practitioners from different industries and discuss the similarities of design thinking in those industries. This is episode 1, Design Thinking Through the Eyes of Different Professions. Before the conversation gets started, I'll let my fellow creatives introduce themselves.
Hi there, my name is Griselda, and my background is in industrial design. The way I got into industrial design is that I've been a creative person all my life. I've been drawing since I was a kid. So then I went to art school, and then from there I realized I loved blueprints and being able to draw shiny cars with crayons. So I hopped into a craft and design program and focused on industrial design. And now I'm in the UX UI course at Conestoga. Thanks for listening.
Hello, myself Vishal. I have background in electronics instrumentation, and then I switched to software engineering. And now I'm learning UI UX designing because that's where I can combine the both worlds, the development and the designing as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paula. I am a graphic designer. I have an experience of almost 3 years. I designed a cover and layout books, and I want to move into UI and UX to complement all my skills. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Andrew. I'm a photographer. I majored graphic design and I hold a bachelor degree. I'm into photography since I went to art school, and now I'm here. I want to learn more about the UI. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Nelson, and I studied public relations, strategic communication management back from 2018 to 2022. The reason I got inspired to do UX was because the design skills complemented with some communication skills that we have, and just helped me be a better communicator overall, and help me understand the clients and consumers better.
All right, so when it comes to design thinking, we usually start with the understand phase. We move on to the explore phase, and then we go on to the materialize phase. We're going to be going through those cycles. My industry is industrial design, so I'm very comfortable with this design thinking. It's a little different when it comes to industrial design going to designing for apps and websites. We start with a product and a product idea, and then end up with a tangible product like your phone or your camera kind of thing, right? So usually I would start off with planning and thinking about what people might need, what problem there is in the world that I could solve, right? So say for instance, like a doorknob or a shower kind of situation where thinking maybe about accessibility, I'll think about, okay, so what does this person struggle with every single day? What story do they live through every day? What do they have to adjust? And then even sometimes I'll go out and I'll go and experience what it is to touch that doorknob, or how that shower is awkward to reach for, or like how my hand fits around it. So I'm thinking about ergonomics. And then, so I kind of create a kind of base to try and understand where they sit. I try and empathize and understand. And then we move on to kind of a mood board kind of space, just to kind of get an idea of what mood I want this to also invoke in the user, right? What do I want to create? What do I want to put in their hands? And what that's kind of where we go for like understanding and empathizing. Yeah. So does anyone want to contribute to that kind of thinking? What would you like to say?
For example, in my case, as a graphic designer,
Yeah.
like the empathize, what I do more with my colleagues is more like create a brief.
Yeah.
Like to explore what are the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, in this brief, we have like a short description of the author, so
Yeah.
we understand what is the book going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And also in this brief, we have like some static requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So then when we are defining, we can combine like how is going to be this static problem solved.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that in my case, we also explore like how is this empathize going to be. So we go for different paths. And when we decide one, then is when we start exploring or materializing. But the
Yeah.
first period of our design thinking,
Yeah.
it's really similar to yours.
Yeah.
As an industrial designer. So yeah, it's really interesting how in this podcast we're going to realize that we are from different creative industries, but at the same time we have very similar design thinking.
Yeah. Which is why I love this topic.
Yeah.
It's why I love this topic. I like the being able to see design thinking across different platforms is just the coolest thing. I love it. So anyone else?
Yeah, the same thing happens with the development process as well. Even though it's a design thinking, the name says it's a design, but
Yeah.
it's still implemented in the development phase as well. Like for example, in the understandings phase, like do we have to empathize with the users and the clients and even the business?
Yeah.
In a business business inputs.
Yeah.
And then we will try to analyze like what kind of application or website they want, and trying to understand like what their requirements is like in a technological sense,
Yeah.
and also in a business sense,
Yeah.
and how to make this application as easy as possible for the users.
So you're empathizing and trying to understand them. It's,
Yeah, exactly.
in a really technical space too,
Yeah, in a
because like
technical space too.
when it comes to like computers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
programming yesterday,
Yeah.
like it's not even close to what you were doing. We did
Yeah.
like CSS and HTML.
Yeah,
You were like
exactly. It's
right
more
in the
advanced.
depths.
Yeah, still we have it's part of the user interface, right?
Yeah.
So we still
It's
have
very
to think
important.
about the design and
Yeah.
the users
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for us, it's in the understanding is like analyzing as well, analyzing the data
Yeah.
and understanding all the inputs, and then doing the competitive analysis, like what the competitors are and what are they missing, and what can we implement in our product
Yeah.
and make it succeed.
Yeah.
So in our space, it's like that.
Yeah.
Like the understanding phase.
That's fantastic. And then
Can we go ahead, Nelson?
Yeah, I think from public relations, one of the cool things that I realized coming into UX, which I didn't know was a thing, was like how much the research part we did
Yeah.
in public relations would help. Because the first step in strategic communication planning for like an organization, because we usually work with organizations on behalf of the clients, on behalf of customers, but like we understand the customers, but what we're creating for is to help maintain a good relationship with the customers on behalf of the organization.
Yeah.
And the first part of creating that strategic communication plan is analyzing the organization, the situation and audiences, which is pretty much doing the research that we do in UX and then coming up with the problem statement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like very interesting because we have to interview people. For example, in my capstone project, we had to interview like different levels of people in the organization, like from regular workers to managers to executive directors, to get a full sense of the organization and then put together a full-on research report for them. So like it's very like it's very similar, and it's like she said, it's crazy how to think how design thinking is sort of
Yeah.
I like that it's so
It's
connected.
very similar.
Yeah.
It's all about the research.
Yeah.
It's all like boils down to the problem, right? We are trying to solve the problem
Yes.
using the design thinking
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. For example, in graphic designer, in the first part, like when we empathize and define, we also think about the audience, like about the target that we're going to work with. Because in my case, I work with a lot of topics. But those topics depend on each target.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand like the authors and stuff,
Yeah,
especially in your
exactly.
field,
Yeah.
right? Like
Choosing the right font, the right color, the right tone,
That
right?
evokes
The
that
right
emotion.
placement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the voice behind
Yeah.
Like you need to really define it in this first stage, like
Yeah.
in this first topic
Yeah.
that we're talking here in this podcast.
Yeah.
And you know, if I want to be honest with you, before this our conversation, I didn't have any clue, and I didn't think about this similarity between photography and design thinking. And I said, oh my god, look at this, it's completely same. You know, all of us, we are in the same way.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to talk about the fashion photography,
Mhm.
at the first, in understanding, I should understand the brand that I want to work for them.
Yeah.
Understand the brand book, the design, and anything about them.
Mhm.
Actually, this is my empathize.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after that, for the define,
Yeah.
usually I make some mood board for
Mood
them,
boards, yeah.
and we can be connect together. We can go in the same way.
Yeah.
And after that, we go for other things. I think the idea for me, define for me is
Yeah.
talking about mood board and their brand identity, knowing about them and everything like
Absolutely. I like, and the biggest.
So now let's talk about our second topic. Our second topic is more about the explorer in the design thinking.
Mhm.
So we have like these two stages about ideate and prototype. So let's talk about like how about industrial design.
So when it comes to ideating and prototyping, in industrial design, we kind of get to run a little wild when it comes to drawing and modeling. Honestly, the best tool is pen and paper and clay. When it comes to just playing and figuring out shapes, if we're designing something small, like a handle, for instance, just clay. I can just like model with it and play with it and see how it sits in my hand, right? And then when I figure out like a shape that I like, I'm like, ooh, that's comfortable. I can take that into like a drawing phase where I like prototype it. I sketch and like in industrial design, we're encouraged to sketch nonstop. It doesn't matter how bad the idea seems. It's all about getting as much out of it as you possibly can. And then looking at the ones that you do like, looking at the ones that you don't really like, and trying to see what works best, what fits the brand best, what really aligns with going that way. And then when we want to start prototyping, we usually finally decide which ones I'll usually pick up like a top 3 that I like, and then I'll start prototyping that. But like it's like very minimal prototyping. It's like with like not paper mache. It's more like origami things, or like I'll take apart cereal boxes or like toilet paper rolls kind of thing. I'll just make little prototypes to see how it sits, and then eventually when it comes to actually materializing it, I'll move further with better materials. But when it comes to prototyping and just trying to get an idea of it, I'll try and just do like a minimal thing just to see, oh, this is the right shape, this is the right size. And like, I just kind of take it to the team, because usually you're working with a team and they say, oh, this works, this doesn't work. And then we just edit it. And then that's essentially where we go and move on to the next phase. Yeah. You just explore as much as you can.
Yeah, it's in graphic design. This is like one of my favorite parts, exploring, because is when you have like you need to have like you need to be open mind all the time.
Yeah.
Like everything can works, and like it's the moment that you have to have all the biggest brainstorming of ideas.
Absolutely.
Like this ideate, like you connect ideas from not only with you, always also with colleagues.
Yeah.
Like it's the moment that you work with others.
Yeah.
So you ask, how do you imagine this? What is your idea about this?
Yeah.
Like we also figured out like in the brief before, what was the ideation of the author? Like we agree with him or no, or we need to figure out, of course, like a middle point, because of course it's the author at the end one that is going to test it.
Yeah.
So in this moment, like we are brainstorming all the time. We look for references. We look for magazines, brochures, typographies.
Yeah.
And yeah, like also when I'm prototyping, I also have like 2 or 3 tops.
Yeah.
Like I have like 8 different processes.
Yeah.
Like eight different paths. But when I prototype, I have 2.
Yeah.
So these 2 designs, yeah, like I try to finalize them as more as I can
Yeah.
to the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is my favorite stage of the design thinking
Yeah.
as a graphic designer.
It's really cool, and just trying to invoke who you're trying to represent within it,
exactly.
right? Trying to get that essence in there.
Development as well.
Yeah.
This is where the UI UX comes in.
Yeah.
Like how we have done the crazy sixes or 8 sixes.
Yeah.
We take out all the analysis we have done, the data we have done,
Yeah.
and then we'll start doing the sketches.
Yeah.
Like how they do in industrial design.
Mhm.
We do the sketches, like we fold the paper into 8 different sections,
Yeah.
and then we do the rapid prototyping type of sketching.
Yeah.
And just keeping out all the ideas into the paper.
Yeah.
And see how we can implement the main application.
Yeah.
Is that
It's like ideation. We'll just taking out all the ideas and putting it on the paper by sketching,
Yeah.
and then we'll just take the inspiration from all there are like awards website.
Mhm.
That's where we go, and Dribble, Behance, and even Pinterest. We just take out inspiration. We take out the mood boards,
Mhm.
and then ideate the stuff, and then prototyping. We do it in all the sketches will be turned into low fidelity
Yeah.
on Figma, Adobe XD,
Yeah.
Sketch applications, and then the wireframing will happen. And then the low fidelity designs will be shown to the clients,
Mhm.
and we'll see if all the things are perfect or
Yeah.
not, and then we'll go to the high fidelity one.
Yeah.
That's where the graphic designing elements will come in, the
Yeah.
pictures,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
main editing out, the colors, typography, the content management system,
Yeah.
and everything will come into the
Yeah.
picture
That
at that
it
moment.
starts materializing
Yeah,
essentially
like
at that
we
point.
just prototype it like a mock-up. It will act like a real application, but
Yeah.
it's not a real application.
It's not
just
ready yet.
it's not
Yeah.
ready yet. It's a
Yeah.
prototype. That's
Yeah.
what
It's the
it's called, a
exploration.
prototype. Yeah. Then we just try to do the A/B testing. Next,
Yeah.
we will go to the next stage in the exploration.
Yeah.
After the exploration.
Yeah. That makes
To the
sense.
materialize stage,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how we end the process.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
interesting how we've been talking about sketching by hand.
Yeah.
Like of course, the technology is in all our different skills. It's clearly there.
Yeah.
But sketching fast, like in this stage of exploring, it's really dynamic. Like you can do
Yeah.
it very
It's
easily.
so
Yeah, usually
It's
I do
perfect.
this.
Yeah,
Usually I do this.
photography
Yeah,
too.
yeah. After that, after brainstorming, I do for a sketch, and
Yeah.
I think, oh, I need this, I need that. For example, I sketch everything. Also, I put my light kinda in my sketch. I know, for
Yeah.
example, I want to put this light here. I want to put this light here. And after that brainstorming and final idea, for prototyping, for me, is shooting. Shooting day is my
Absolutely.
prototyping
Yeah.
and post production.
Yeah.
You know, in the shooting day, I know everything. So I know I had a mock-up. I know that my client know that. So I'm going for shooting and put them, for example, for fashion photography. For example, I have a bunch of models and the makeup artists, and the clothes are coming and everything. They match, and after that, only I know what do I want.
Yeah.
So I go for shooting and in the post-producing. Also, I put the post-producing on this part
Yeah.
because in the editing, I should edit
Messing around with like the
Yeah,
lights and
exactly.
the styles and
I should clean up everything here.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing I really love about photography is that, the prototyping space and the kind of testing and implementing space all kind of happens simultaneously,
Yeah.
right?
Also, we have a kind of test
Yeah.
because we are going sometimes for re-editing
Yeah,
or
yeah,
reshooting sometimes,
Yeah.
depend on the client, or maybe I have some experience.
Yeah.
For example, I forgot something during the first shooting.
Mhm.
Oh my god, it's really worse. I had to
Yeah.
take another shooting there.
Yeah.
So it's really expensive because you had to manage every people that they have to
Yeah.
come, and you
Yeah.
should charge the models and everyone. It's really
It's a lot. It's definitely
Yeah.
a lot to keep track of. But like the whole idea of just shooting like 1,000 photos or more
yeah.
in a day just to try and get the 1 or like 10 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Like,
You need to really
that-
explore.
yeah,
you have to
that's-
really explore.
Yeah, you are like a huge explorer, and that's the one thing I love about photography is like,
So usually now for this season, thanks to technology, we
Yeah.
are simultaneously I edit, I put it on the Lightroom and
Yeah.
check it. Oh, it's okay now edit. But before that, I remember when I started,
yeah,
I didn't have lots of equipment, something like that. It was so so I had
Yeah.
to take it again. But now I edit it and kind of simultaneously
Yeah.
and go for that and show the client. Do
yeah,
you like it? Is it okay? Okay, now we are going for the next
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
That
That's
exploration
perfect.
is really important in your case. Like
Yeah,
as a
exactly.
photographer, you can't go home and oh no, there was missing
was a
something. Like
mistake,
you
yeah.
really need to explore
Yeah.
and take decisions
Yeah.
on the day and at the time.
Yeah, you got a time constraint.
Also, you should save similar in different things. For example, one memory, one external hard, one laptop. Everywhere you should save the file
Oh, yeah.
because if
That's
you
the
miss
biggest
something,
thing.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
And how about you? What do you experience with?
Well, we don't really do hand sketching in
Yeah.
PR.
Should I sketching with people?
But personally, I like to say that my thoughts flow better when I write,
Uh-huh.
because it's like instead of typing, like if we're writing ideas. So for the ideate and prototype stage, I'll say we start off by formulating our action and response strategy and our message strategy.
Yeah.
So the action strategy is like sort of like what channels are we going to use to put out the message? So is it print? Is it radio? Is it TV? Because once that happens, we start to think about like in the next stage, like how we're brainstorming what kind of messages we're going to put out. The message strategy is like picking the tone. Do we want an altruistic message for this campaign? Do we want a humorous message for this campaign? Do we
Yeah.
want like a super moral message for this campaign? And like coming up with ideas together as a team, like you said, and like putting out those ideas like, hey, how about a podcast? Or hey, how about we do flyers and posters? How about we do a carousel on Instagram?
How about a little TikTok?
Yeah, you know? So like we're like coming through that, and everyone is just discussing like, it could work, but
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And so like we're just like discussing like literally any new, and the thing with PR, which sounds a little bit crazy, is that we have to keep up with new technology,
Absolutely.
or like
Yeah.
keep up with being aware of new technology,
Yeah.
because then you could implement it into like your campaign.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for example,
You have to be on top of it. I
Yeah.
imagine.
for example, at our capstone, we're not our capstone. We had a consulting class where we worked with a real client, Capacity Canada, and at that point, what's the name of this? Clubhouse was becoming really popular. So one of the things we suggested was, why don't you have a conference on Clubhouse? Because you can have panelists in Clubhouse, and you don't have to rent a space for it. You can just have the panelists be
Yeah.
the most important speakers on the app, and everyone can join in and raise their hands and ask questions.
That sounds really cool.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
like it's just like coming up with like ideas like
Like you can do it by your own.
Yeah.
Like you really need to ask this in exploration, like others' opinions.
Yeah.
Like
Hey,
how what
it
do you
helps.
think about this? Like
Yeah.
all our industries need to work with a good team.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, you can come up with an idea on your own, but you can bring it to the team and they'll be like, hey, that's a really cool idea. But
Yeah.
will you really work for this?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like this type of questions, like why, what, how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is when you really understand if your exploration
Yeah.
works or no.
Yeah.
And yeah, at this stage you need to explore as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because it's this stage of the design thinking,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
it's the workplace where you are going to define then for material. We're just going to take a quick break from this good conversation for a second here. I want to talk a bit more about the visual collaboration software. You can use it to brainstorm and organize your design thinking.
And it's called Miro. You can use it for free. It comes with templates for mind mapping, Kanban framework, and customer journey, and that's just to name a few. Miro is a good system to use if you're wanting to have an online collaboration space for your team. You just need an email, or you can just share your link.
We actually organized our brainstorm through Miro, and you'll see a little clip here. I definitely recommend trying it out. It's simple and efficient and beautifully designed. I've enjoyed using it for various projects. Anyway, we'll get back to our main topic. Thank you.
How I should do everything simultaneously, kinda. In the shooting day, for example, I'm taking a photo, and after that I see the photo and show them to the client, and after that I go for post-production. And in the post-production I edit the photo and maybe add something, and edit lighting, some contrast or something like that. I edit the photo total, and sometimes I should go for re-edit, or sometimes I should go for reshooting even. So all of this is my process, and after that is the final project.
So, out of curiosity, how long does it take to go from shoot day through production to possibly final to, well, like post presentation to actual presentation? Like, how long do you think that takes?
Completely dependent to project. For
Yeah.
example, some project is really huge and broad. You should think a lot, and they need us. For example, if you want to work for a really, really good brand,
Yeah.
so you should think more about it. You have a really better brainstorming. If you have, for example, you have to spend more time for that. And actually, also for shooting day, you need more time. For example, for that project, maybe you have a 2 or 3 day shooting, not only one.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
It's a huge
for
production.
a huge production.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a different location. You should move from this city to another city
Oh my
because of
gosh,
the,
yeah.
exactly. Because for example, if you want to take a fashion photography in the nature or landscape, for example, sometimes you need some rocks, you need a mountain or something like that. You should travel. So 2 days, sometimes 1 week. But overall, maybe in half and a month or 1 month.
Yeah.
I can go.
2 weeks to a month for post for that as wild.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. All right. So like, for me, when it comes to going from prototyping, like the ideation and prototyping phase, to actually testing and implementing, it depends, again, like on the project. It depends on how big the project is. Like if I'm designing a chair or we're working on a car, like it's completely different from a fork, right? It's completely different. It depends on what you're working on. So once you've ideated and talked with your entire team and decided, okay, this is what we want, this is the way we want to go. So then at that point, that's when the real work really, really starts, is truly figuring out how big this thing is going to be, what the measurements, like we're essentially taking this idea from your head, this sketch, and giving it an actual tangible measurement, right? And we have to think about manufacturing processes. We have to think, is it going to be extruded? What kind of plastic is it going to be? What kind of glass? What kind of textile might it be? Because we also focus on textile design too. What kind of leather will we use for this chair? What kind of silicone, right? We have to think about all these different aspects. And then I think the fun part for me was actually modeling and making these things come to life without actually having rubber or plastics or anything. Because like, I mean, one of the funnest projects I had was creating a pair of headphones, and I sculpted those with my hands.
Wow.
I used foam from Home Depot. I used it's like paper foam that's been condensed, superheated, and it's like a plastic, and I just like carved out my shape.
So nice.
And I used a heat gun and I just bent it the way I wanted it. And I made it look like actual headphones. So I could take that to a customer and be like, this is what they will look like at the end. This is not functioning, but this is what they'll look like. And it looks like a lifelike version, how big they'll be. And like I have like my blueprints, my isometrics already drawn out, and I'm able to present that. I'll have a full industrial design presentation on this is the product, this is how big, the metrics, and how much it might cost, right? And I really like that process. I think it's really fun going to that end part and just being like, here, we've got a thing, and I made it. It was cool. I cut my fingers a little bit, but we're good.
The physical, tangible experience.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing I really liked about industrial design. But going into UX UI, I'm kind of excited about like being able to see things go on air and just be like, wow, we made that.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
This is where our materialize will come
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Actually, in the development, before the development, the prototyping will be tested on the users.
Yeah.
And once that finalized based on the A/B testing or splits
Yeah.
testing they call it, and once it is done, this is where the development will be started.
Yeah.
All the developers, like the front-end developers, the back-end developers, the database managers, everyone will be start working on this project.
So-
The UI UX team and the developers team, they don't get along well
Yeah.
because the UI people will come up with all the dribble type
Yeah.
of ideas,
Yeah.
like very futuristic.
Yeah.
But there is a technological limitations
Yeah.
as well. We can't implement everything.
you're creative.
Yeah, you can explore like the very creative stuff.
It's when
It's actually good that
Yeah.
we have like the futuristic type of designs.
Yeah.
And developers, we don't have the technology yet, but the developers will be looking at that and they'll see, oh wow, that's a very cool design.
Yeah.
And they'll be thinking, they will be
How to do
putting
it.
like
Yeah.
everything like, okay, maybe we should try implementing that
Yeah.
Yeah.
into development.
Yeah.
They will,
And
they will start coming up with the solution to
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it's
like-
a target.
It's really cool because that whole aspect of like creativity crossing with this math science space.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how that happens in PR, where there's like the cross of like human understanding and the rigidity and ethics of how it all works. So like
I think it's just for us, it's sort of understanding the way you want to communicate to your audience.
Yeah.
So, like when we are materializing our stuff, we've come up with like I said before, we've come up with a message strategy that sort of directs the way we do our copywriting for that. We've come up with our action strategy, which directs like, okay, these are the channels that we're going to do that. So after those two parts, we select our communication tactics, which is
Yeah.
now like, we're going to do a flyer, we're going to do a podcast,
Yeah.
we're going to put it together, we're going to show the clients and say, hey, what do you think? We're going to go back, implement their feedback into those deliverables,
yeah,
and then we're going to put it out to the market and see how it works.
yeah,
On social, how much engagement are we getting on these posts? On radio, how many people heard it? What did people think? So like our materialize is sort of just like many different deliverables, putting them out to the world, seeing how they react, and then
Yeah.
coming back and be like, okay, this doesn't work, this didn't work that well, so what can we do better
yeah.
for next time? So
And
Yeah.
I can see that kind
It's
of connecting with
implementing,
you.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like implementing and seeing it in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just seeing how it is working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes it won't work. Like sometimes
Yeah.
you like your team will think, like for example, let's just go back to the clubhouse thing. Sometimes the team will think, oh, this is a cool idea. The company doesn't have to pay any money to rent a space and invite people, whatever. But then you can go back and get feedback from the people who attended the conference on Clubhouse, and they'll be like, yes, it was a cool idea, but I wasn't really as engaged as I normally would be because I
Yeah.
couldn't ask questions to them in person and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's just like, it's thinking about, like, from the human aspect, it's thinking about the way people want to communicate.
Yeah.
Being in PR helped me become a better communicator. I mean, I'm still not the best, but like,
Yeah.
it helps you
Amazing.
understand.
I think just being in like the general design space and general design thinking, like that has made me a better person. Thinking and implementing, because like I'm like, oh yeah, how do I do this for this person? Like how can I make this situation better? And like in communicating.
That's the importance of like materializing.
Yeah.
Like it's when you see that all your process,
Mhm.
like you need to test it,
Yeah.
so it works or no, and if it doesn't work, it's also okay.
Yeah.
Like you can go back and
Exactly.
forward all the
Work it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, in graphic design, we have like 3 different steps for testing.
Mhm.
Like the first one was like show the mock-ups
Yeah.
of the prototype to the author.
Yeah.
So he likes it, he don't like it, he feels good with it, he feels represented with the
Mhm.
cover of the design book.
Yeah.
And if it's okay, like we need also to correct maybe the content, some spelling or some grammar mistakes.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's also at the end we need to show it to the art director.
Mhm.
Like that is one of like the huge testing parts.
Mhm.
And also then like for the commercials and
Yeah.
for the editors.
Yeah. So
Like we have like 4 tested.
So what is that exactly like? Do you get like in a boardroom and present like a whole project, or like how does that look for
Yeah, like
a
the
graphic
way that we
designer?
test it is like we show, like we print like the real size
Yeah.
of the cover,
Yeah.
and so he can show the color, the typography,
Yeah.
like all the different sides. So he will see it like literally like these books.
Yeah.
Like he will see all this but open. Like
Yeah.
he understand everything.
Because it looks different on computer.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
different, so he can really
preferences.
feel it. Like,
Yeah.
of course,
It's
we
an
don't print
actual object,
everything.
yeah.
we don't print everything because that would be expensive.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we show like the cover,
The
the,
cover,
back, also like the BIOS inside, like those,
How to
all
look.
these parts.
Yeah.
And if they liked it, we go and then we implement it.
Mhm.
But this first part of testing it is when we have like this big okay
Yeah.
and like this big proof.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we implement it is when it go to the printing process.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the
And that's when it goes out into the world.
Yeah, that's when like
That's
real
when
world.
it comes to life. That's when the magic comes on
Yeah,
in, and
exactly.
it's just like we're creating things. And I think that's the coolest thing about the
Yeah.
design process, the design thinking
And
process.
so
I
for
love this
this
conversation.
process, like for this materialize,
Yeah.
it's really important to get like really good mock-ups
Yeah.
of what's going to be like how it's the similar
Mhm.
design going to look like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, like see all the result, the understanding, the explore
Mhm.
process
That all leads
is
to
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That all leads
Like
to
it's a big result. I
Yeah.
think.
And
This is like the most important stage.
Yeah.
For the software development, yeah, the implementation
Yeah.
stage is like the main development. Development goes on, right?
Yeah.
This is where we develop the application,
Mhm.
and once it is done completely, the
Yeah.
application is developed with all the collaboration with all the other different backend developers.
Mhm.
Those are the ones who create like dynamic of the application
Yeah.
to manage the data, like how you see on Netflix. The data will be changing always.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Always.
the time.
Those are the
Consistently.
people.
Yeah.
Those are the backend people who will be connecting it to the database.
Yeah.
And then connecting it to the front end part of the application. And once it is developed, the testing will go on again.
Yeah.
This testing is like the development testing.
Yeah.
This is where they test the code.
Yeah. They
If
just
there is any bugs
they
or-
keep going.
Yeah, for example, we all got like the initial update of any software, right?
Yeah.
First they will release the beta testing, the beta of the application.
Yeah.
That's where they test it on the real world.
Yeah.
And then if there are any bugs,
Yeah.
then they will fix it. And once they think that, okay, this is like in a good phase now,
Yeah.
then they'll release the initial 0.1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it'll like finally be like
Yeah, they
official.
will
You
be-
can use it. Yeah.
They will be making changes, they will be
Yeah.
adding features, they will be
Yeah.
updating the security stuff and all
Yeah.
that. And it's like a radio process. That's
Yeah.
the design thinking.
Yeah.
It goes on and
Yeah.
goes
It
on.
just
Like,
continues.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's a
it's
round.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
technological advancement will happen. Again,
Yeah.
the new features will kick in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
And
the radio process.
I think at the end of the day, when it comes to design thinking in all of our industries, I can even see where we exist within ourselves. Like, our industries consistently work together.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing. All of us have our own design thinking processes,
Mhm.
but we all work together. Your
This
photography.
is like a mini agency.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
like
a mini
we-
consulting
yeah,
agency.
yeah, we
You
have
go
an
for it.
agency right now. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we've got our graphic
We have a
designer,
complement.
we've got our photographer, we've got our programmer, we've got our PR guy, we've got someone who can kind of make a few things.
Yeah.
But all of us are kind of getting this general understanding of UX UI, and I love it.
Yeah.
So I think we're ready for a sign off.
Yeah.
And thank you, audience, for joining us for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was like our first episode, like of this podcast. Like,
Yeah.
we have a lot of topics that I know that we can continue talking
Absolutely.
because we have very similar process of thinking
Yeah.
in our own profession, and also now that we're starting like this UX
Yeah.
UI process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm sure that would be great.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you for the amazing conversation, guys. I loved hearing about it.
Yeah, it was
Learning from
amazing.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.